Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
Good afternoon and happy Sunday, everyone. I want to welcome you to the launch and kickoff of Sanctuary of Hope's fourth annual Black Narrative Series. I want to thank Dr. Samad and the Dineley Institute at California State University, Dominguez Hills, for being a partner in uplifting Black issues and advancing racial justice and anti-racism. You have been with Sanctuary of Hope the past 3 years, and I am extremely grateful. I do want to say to the audience that I miss the personal fellowship with everyone, and I'm sad that COVID has moved us to a virtual platform. But I will say this, that I do look forward to the days ahead when we can convene in person. 2020 was a year of changes for our beloved Black communities. We witnessed our world change with unjust killings, a pandemic, a transition of administrations, an insurrection, and even our young people raising the level of activism about the injustices in our world. This year, with our Black Narrative 4-part series, we want to focus on the power of we and the Black collective to continue the elevation of Black civic engagement. And we hope that you are enlightened and inspired to be change agents in your communities, our communities. So without further ado, I would like to turn the stream over to Dr. Anthony Samad.
Good afternoon, everybody, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 2021 Sanctuary of Hope Black Narrative Series, Part 1, where we begin to talk about, during Black History Month, but well into March, how we see the realities of today taking shape and how they impact the African-American community. I'm Dr. Anthony Untitled Samad. I am the Executive Director of the Mervyn Dineley African-American Political and Economic Institute, and I'm pleased to partner with Sanctuary of Hope this year on the Black Narrative Series. I'd like to commend Janet Galloway Kelly for reaching out to myself and the Institute, and commend her on being one of the few organizations that regularly has public discourse around African-American community and the Black narrative as it's being written today. I also like to commend Sanctuary of Hope for not engaging in one and done dialogues. I believe that we cannot solve the world's problems in one session, and it has to be a continuing dialogue with ourselves as well as with other communities. So you are to be commended for that. At this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists, okay? Our first panelist is Mr. Jelani Hendricks, who was born and raised in Fresno, California. He moved to Los Angeles to pursue his degree in Pan-African Studies at Cal State Los Angeles, where he participated in student activism and organizing. Jelani is a community advocate who strives to bridge the gap between grassroots community advocacy and progressive policy and electoral politics. He worked as a youth organizer at Community Coalition and also worked in their civic engagement component. At the Social Justice Learning Institute, Jelani became the director of the Policy and Advocacy Division and played a pivotal role in adopting a rent control ordinance for the city of Inglewood. He currently works for SEIU 2015 as a special assistant to the president. He currently serves as a board member of the Inglewood South Bay Democratic Club and is president of Black Los Angeles Young Democrats. I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Jelani Hendricks. Welcome, Jelani.
Thank you, Dr. Samad. It's an honor to be on this panel with you. Like Dr. Uh, Samad mentioned, Jelani Hendricks. I currently work at SCIU 2015. I'm Madam President April Barrett's Special Assistant. And at the end of the day, through and through, I'm a community organizer. I'm an advocate for the Black community, whether I'm in Fresno, Los Angeles, or any other city that I'm living in. And I'm just very grateful to be on this panel with you all, and I hope to have a good conversation and learn from you all.
Thank you very much. Our next panelist is Miss Sandy Cook, who is a native of Los Angeles. She attended local public schools, graduating from Crenshaw High School, West Los Angeles College, and transferring to Cal State University, Los Angeles, where she majored in psychology. She is proud to say that she was born and raised at Mount Galilee Missionary Baptist Church. Currently, Sandy's consultancy business, Sandy Cook and Associates, serves community, faith-based, and political organizations. She also serves on the board as well as communication director for Restoration CDC, a community-based organization serving people experiencing homelessness by partnering with the City of Los Angeles and Los Angeles County agencies and community and faith-based organizations to help bring healing and wholeness to our communities with dignity. Sandy serves with SCLC Southern California as voter engagement director. Sandy serves as Southern California Regional Field Director for President Barack Obama, California State Deputy Field Director for Secretary Hillary Clinton, and has managed and consulted on many local campaigns and initiatives. Sandy's career is highlighted by her personal commitment to community service, empowering people to lead, and changing the world right where she is. Miss Sandy Cook.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Samad. I'm so excited to be here with all this illustrious panel. I love all the people that are here, and I admire you all, and I'm looking so forward to having this conversation with you this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for participating. This next gentleman, I love all of the panelists, but this young brother is really kind of cutting away for himself. He's become one of my favorite people, and I just think he has a bright future in front of him. Brother Isaac Bryan is Director of Public Policy at the UCLA Ralph Bunche Center for African American Studies and is the founding executive director of the center's Black Policy Project, which focuses on producing community-driven research that helps spur policy change. Brian's work focuses on helping advance activist-led movements and policy change around issues of racial, economic, and social justice. Brian co-chairs Los Angeles Unified School District Task Force on School Policing and sits on the executive board of Justice LA Coalition. Formerly, he served in Los Angeles as LA Mayor Eric Garcetti's Office of Reentry and Sitcom Unit, where he co-authored the city's first report on the holistic needs of Angelenos with past justice system involvement. He was also one of the academic authors who wrote the youth justice briefs that inspired California's minimum age for juvenile jurisdiction. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. Isaac Mr. Isaac Bryan. I'm sorry, Isaac. Welcome, my brother.
No, this is an amazing, amazing panel. I'm so grateful to be here. A lot of love for Sanctuary of Hope. A lot of love for my brother, Jelani Hendricks, OG Dr. Samad, Miss Sandy Cook. It's great to be here with all of y'all. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Great. So we'll jump right into the questions. You know, I'm sure they may have been sent to you, but in case they weren't, I'll ask the question. If you didn't hear it, I'll repeat it, and I'll give each of you the opportunity to respond. First question is, given the current past election, movements, and or atmosphere of the nation in 2020, what did we learn about Black civic engagement? Anybody can go first, or if you want me to call on you like we did in school, I will.
I'll go. I'll go. I remember those days in school when, I would wait till to be the last person to be called. So I got smart
Okay.
over the years. So I'll go first. So, yeah, I think what did I learn over with Black civic engagement? Well, what I think I learned is that it is alive and well, and it still works. Here in California with the passing of, Measure J, Proposition 17, and, the voters denied Proposition 20. I think that had a lot to do with Black civic engagement. And of course, it's hard to not acknowledge also the work that was done in Georgia. So I think that what I learned was that while we use new technology, we have texting and Slack, and we have all these, social media platforms. Nothing is like still, one-on-one building relationship with our community, getting them engaged in the issues that are affecting us, which, we had I know we're going to talk about maybe later about some of the things that happened in 20 that kind of pushed Black civic engagement over the summer with Breonna Taylor, with George Floyd, those things that were happening that really just kind of reminded me a lot of the civil rights movement when Emmett Till was murdered, and by white supremacists, domestic terrorists, and and his mother demanding that his casket be open. I think that was the light that ignited the civil rights movement. And I see what happened in 2020, the summer of 2020, the same, with the murder of George Floyd, and us, and the world watching as they killed him. So I think that it's alive and well. I think our job is going to be, how do we continue it and keep it moving on?
Okay. Gentlemen, next.
I can go next. I agree with pretty much everything that Miss Sandy said. And I firmly believe the summer of 2020 will go down in history as one of the most pivotal moments in American history. People are going to compare the summer of 2020 to the civil rights movement. And I think what makes this particular time even more dynamic is we had protests in every state in America. Some protests were international due to the murder of George Floyd. But a lot of people don't talk about we were in the middle of a pandemic when that happened. But people still hit the streets, and it wasn't just Black people hitting the streets. We seen white folks, brown folks, our Asian brothers and sisters from all over the world stand up for us in our lives. So we actually witnessed a global movement this past summer. And what I learned is we have the power to influence other marginalized communities to advocate for justice and a better society, a just society. For another thing that I realized is, for the first time, a lot of corporations and institutions that are involved and engaged in social justice work, they're starting to center anti-Black racism, which is very rare, but I'm glad it's happening. And many institutions are willing to put money behind a lot of the efforts we've been doing for decades. So it's a very exciting time to be an organizer. And I also would add that corporations like Netflix, what they did was they added a lot of Black shows over the summer, like the Parkers and Moesha, but we need more than just symbolism. In this particular moment, we need people and corporations to actually invest in the movement, invest in Black lives. And this is the perfect time to leverage everything. So that's my piece.
Yeah, and I won't add much more to that than what's already been said. I think Miss Sandy and Jelani hit it right on the head. Other than Black folks are the moral compass of this country, and the most stable voting bloc, and in particular Black women, when it comes to leading, organizing, and turning out votes. In this election cycle where we saw historic turnouts, was just a reminder. We didn't learn something new. We got reminded of something that we shouldn't forget all too often, right? And should be reciprocated in the policy decisions and who we're listening to in terms of accountability now that folks are into office.
Well, I'm gonna take a stab at the question because, I found all of your responses interesting. The observation I made about Black civic engagement in 2020 is that for the first time in a long time since I can remember, all aspects of the community leaned in. It wasn't just a street movement. Folk in academia were leaning in. Folk in corporations were leaning in. At the same time, we were defending George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. We were also defending Kamala Harris because they went after her too. We saw Black women flip Georgia, and they wouldn't have done that without, Black girl magic. We saw the board of supervisors become, all women for the first time in its history. There was a lot of things that came about as a result of informed strategic advocacy. And that's what impressed me most about 2020. We had all generations in, hands in, everybody had fist up. And I appreciated that on so many levels. We took the time not to focus on our, small, narrow silos and finally looked at the bigger picture because we was facing a wave of white nationalism that couldn't be ignored. The 2020 election couldn't be ignored. January 6th can't be ignored. We'll talk about that a little bit when we get into 2021, but we saw something that we hadn't seen in 50 years, which is folk working on all levels, because there's levels to this. And so all of what the three of you have said were certainly pertinent aspects of what we realized in terms of Black civic engagement. The second question is, what were some of the major aha moments in politics from 2020 that Blacks should capitalize on, re-examine, or abandon? And the example for the question is defund the police, forwarding progressive values. I'm a critic of defunding the police, so I didn't put that in there, but we need to reform policing, but defunding the police creates a whole nother level of problems that we're seeing play out. You'd be surprised what you asked for, but we see a rise in crime, we see a rise in police hostility, due to their morale decline, I should say, in addition to moral decline, morale decline. We see some things that were unintended consequences for asking for things that, we don't know where it's going to land. As Black Thought and the Roots once said, you keep asking for it, you just might get it. And we about to get it. I'm just letting you know. January 6th, they let us know, okay, we could do this too. And so, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what was your aha moment?
Well, I got to come at you first.
Well, okay, come on.
Because the first aha or moment I think we need to re-examine is having family conversations out in the public, right? We needed to have a conversation about then presidential candidate Harris's record with the criminal legal system. That's a Black family conversation that need to be had. Right. Didn't have to happen in public, right? We can all rally behind the representation of the first Black woman to attain that level of office in American history as something that we all can and should support. But there was a family conversation to be had, and the defund the police conversation, same thing. It's a family conversation, President Obama, who I love dearly. But these are conversations we got to have with each other and in the community, because having them publicly discredits a lot of movement work on all sides to move things forward. Now, with the defund the police, we can get into whether it's an effective slogan or sloganeering. I mean, it comes from people that have lost loved ones in particular at the hands of law enforcement violence. But from a policy perspective, we're seeing a rise in violence and a rise in what we would categorize as crime, because we're seeing a proportional rise in poverty, right? And in a lack of access to food infrastructures, public health infrastructures, quality education infrastructures. We've got students that exist in a digital divide who can't go to school and don't have internet at home to remote learn at school. And you wonder what they're doing all day. Something that we criminalize, and I promise you that, because we've been criminalizing poverty and survival for as long as Black folks have been here. From a policy perspective, Measure J wasn't called a defund the police measure, because I'm good with my language. We called it Measure J for justice. But it does take 10% of unrestricted county revenues and puts them towards care, opportunity, youth development, small business support, the things our communities need. And they're working on implementation right now, but I know you don't get to 10% of unrestricted revenues without talking about that sheriff budget. So we're gonna defund at least a piece of it. And so I think, that's one of the things I hope we consider as we move forward in our public dialogues when it comes to these kinds of community conversations. We need to have forums like Congresswoman Bass hosted in DC that I know you attended, and places where we can have these conversations internally and build and move forward together, and not necessarily do this call out at the most pivotal moments of a Black woman's election, or the most pivotal moments of a movement that put more people on the streets than at any point in American history. So I'm hoping we can re-examine that. But one of the aha moments for me is just that we won on many levels. We won. Black folks won last year. At the same time, we were dying. Same time, we were being killed off by systems that have been weaponized against us, and by a pandemic that was disproportionately hitting our communities that don't have the same public health access and infrastructure as others, and we were still winning. And so that aha is a laugh for me. That's an aha. We did that, right? And so in 2021, we've got a lot to build on and a lot more to do.
I feel you, Brother Isaac, and I agree with all of that. I just had to get you fired up for a second. Who wants to weigh in? Who wants to weigh in behind that?
Weigh in. As usual, Isaac is on point. And one of the aha moments I had, or maybe it was more of a reminder, is my community, we're not a monolith. We have different views on what policing should look like, on what strategies we should implement to get justice, to get liberation, to get freedom. But one of the aha moments that I had was, despite our differences, we still need to work together and identify a bottom line. And what I mean by that is, how do we make sure that Black people are no longer living in fear of state-sanctioned violence? How do we make sure that Black folks, for the most part, we're not on the streets, we have shelter, we have food in our belly, so we can engage in our society in a normal way? Like, how do we facilitate or organize the movement builders in our community to make sure that we continue to move forward? And like Isaac mentioned, we won this summer. I believe we could have won even more if we were aligned, if we had solidarity. And I'm particularly talking about the movement in Los Angeles. So with that said, we got to make sure that our petty differences don't hold us back, that they don't hold back the movement, and we can accomplish a whole lot more. And with that said, we have a window, a small window to do work. In history, there's always flashpoints, and 2020 was definitely a flashpoint, and it's actually crept into 2021. So it's actually a really big window. I'm surprised. It's definitely historic. But like I mentioned earlier, people are centering anti-Black racism. So we need to collectively figure out, what are our demands? What do we want? What are we going to ask for? And I think if we're level-headed and we lead with love, we can get there. And I also believe that this is just the beginning, and we're going to witness a shift on how we engage in politics, social justice, things of that nature. And I'm excited to be an organizer in this time.
All right, my brother. Good.
So yes, of course, I can't help but agree with both my nephews and you, Dr. Samad. So I think when I think about an aha moment and how we capitalize and re-examine or abandon, I can't help but think that every institution in America has to be re-examined or reimagined, right? Because they all sit on a white supremacy foundation. And so I look forward to, just to add on to what they've said already, to dismantling these institutions, right? And I think that we're going to have to stay very vigilant on that, even in this moment when we've had some great wins. We also suffered some losses like Prop 15, Prop 16, which Prop 16 kind of was an awakening, and that was the affirmative action, or reversing that, for affirmative action. And so that spoke a lot to me of where we are here in California, because I was one of those that knew that we had to work for it, but I didn't expect it to lose. And so, and at the rate that it did. So I look forward to, to looking at how we're going to dismantle all of these racist institutions, realign them and re-examine them and reimagine them to where it works for everybody.
Yeah, I kind of concur with you on that, Sandy. Particularly with respect to the quality of life propositions that were on the ballot in 2020 that Black people helped defeat. And it made us call out the NAACP, particularly the state president of the NAACP that helped, defeat 15, 21, 25, and those were quality of life ballot initiatives that would have impacted the lives of Black people. And here we have the oldest civil rights organization. Really, it was her platform, but she used the organization as a shield to confuse other voters who said, well, if the NAACP is against it, we should be against it. And sometimes we give others entree to devalue us and to deprioritize those things that are important to us. The aha moment for me was that a white woman raised the issue of reparations, and we let that disappear after she was out of the primary. When Marianne Williamson said America's never going to be right until they do right by Black people, that was like sealing the color purple. It's the truth. America ain't gonna never be right till they do right by Black people, and she says white people got to be honest about it. We're having this workshop tomorrow about white people talking to white people about what they need to do about racism. And that was an aha moment for me. And Black people were scared to touch it. Cory Booker was scared to touch it. Kamala was scared to touch it. Biden's scared to touch it. But we need to make sure that piece doesn't die. We really do. All right, the third question.
Well, Dr. Samad, if I may, before you move on, just a note on that, absolutely reparations, but I think that the conversations are starting to happen now, right, about what that looks like. I think that we have, what is it, you guys help me with the bill that the House passed.
Yeah, Dr. Weber's
HR, is it HR 40? I know we passed one here, but we passed one in Congress as well, right?
We've introduced that one every year since 1972.
Exactly, and I think we're seeing some movement in that way, and some conversations around what does reparations look like. Yeah. And so I'd love to see our community more engaged in those conversations in this moment.
And we intend to be. They fighting about whether they're gonna give us $1,400. If we're saving money on war, if they got money to fight wars, they got money to give people quality of life restitution. So yeah, we're going to revisit that. That's the thing that Isaac and I and several others in this think tank movement are pushing. We're gonna have conversations. We're going to reimagine what reparations should look like. I agree. It shouldn't just be a check. Third question. If Black citizens have or are to go to power base, a go-to power base, where should we place our efforts? Let me say that again, because they got a bunch of ands, ors, and hows in here. If Black citizens have or are a go-to power base, where should we place our efforts? E.g., establishing a Black agenda, which I got a lot to say about because there's several agendas out there. and all of them ain't Black, but they led by Black people, you know, including the Proud Boys, you know. So yeah, we gonna talk a little bit about that. So should we establish a Black agenda, endorse or moving forward Biden's plan for Black America, or Ice Cube's plan for Black America, etc.? All right. So you want to go first this time, Jelani?
Sure. That's a tough question.
Well, that's why we having it.
You know, it's
you wanted softball lobs? Come on.
Okay, so it's a very interesting question. And one thing that I kind of reflected on the last few months is, you know, people are really excited about the Biden administration. We have our first Black woman VP, which is historic. And a lot of people are excited for this administration to undo a lot of the injustice that was done over the past 4 years. And I'm excited about that as well. But as a Black person, I'm more concerned about the Biden's administration's plan to implement a process that will undo the past 400 years. So not only do we need a Black agenda, I feel like it's time for the party to serve the interests of its most loyal voter base, which is the Black community, particularly Black women. Now, imagine how the past election would have went without Black voters in places like Georgia and Michigan. We would probably
South Carolina. The Sisters of South Carolina saved Biden's life. Okay.
Exactly, right? So where would we be at if that happened? We would probably be under Trump's regime for another 4 years. So I just think it's time for us to use our leverage as the most loyal demographic in the party, you know, to get them to really serve our interests and do for us. As far as a Black agenda, whether it's Ice Cube's or someone else's, I think it needs to be a collective decision, a collective process, right? Particularly folks that have been on the ground for years. They need to put their input in to say, hey, this is what a Black agenda should look like. This is what Black people need in order for them to transform their material conditions and outcomes. And I haven't seen that, but I'm definitely excited. I think that that's something that we can do and bring to life. And lastly, I would say, I think we need to invest in intergenerational leadership and develop pipelines for future leaders, right? Who are the future academics? Who are the future Dr. Samads? Who are the future Mark Ridley Thomases, right? Who are the future Stacey Abrams? There's a Stacey Abrams in every Black community across the country. But we've got to be intentional about, number one, identifying those folks, and number two, developing those folks. So that's my piece on that question.
All right, I'm gonna wait for the other two responses before, because some of it I agree with you on, and then some of it I have a follow-up question on. Okay.
So I'll go next.
Okay.
That's okay, Isaac. So yeah, I mean, you know, as Jelani was speaking, and I definitely agree with, you know, with his point. You know, we also saw a governor here in California when there was an opportunity for him to maintain equity, inclusion, diversity. He didn't make that decision. I'm still a little salty. I'm gonna be honest.
We still a little salty.
I'm still a little salty.
I am too. But you know, he did a, you know, bop bop a woo bop on us, and you know, traded a federal seat, you know, for a statewide seat. That wasn't even trade. I mean, I love Dr.
Yeah,
that wasn't an even swap, okay?
And to act like we don't know that, you know, I feel so offended. So I'm trying not to, you know, to bring that, you know, in this space right now.
I got it.
Yeah, but it did show that, you know, and I really, you know, and I think it felt a bit like a betrayal, because I know personally, I saw him as an ally, meaning that, anti-racist, understanding what equity means, understanding what, representation means. I've been in spaces with Governor Newsom. So, and I've supported him in the past, based on these things that I've thought. But that decision really, I was perplexed by that decision. I still am quite a bit, because we haven't had an opportunity to really have a conversation with him about his decision making. It has to be more than there's a 40% Latino population in California. That to say that is offensive. So what, we don't deserve any representation? So on that part, I just wanted to, to say that, and then also that reparations, building a Black agenda, even most people haven't even looked at the Biden's plan for Black America, so we can't even have a conversation around it yet, right? I think that all these things are what we as organizers are going to have to really start bringing to the table, to start having these conversations and getting that, bringing that to the forefront so that we can have our community empowered, understanding that they have the power, right, to be able to help make these decisions that are going to affect their very lives, moving forward. So yeah, I'll say that on that.
Well, I appreciate that. Auntie, we all upset about that. How much more qualified you got to be to get the job. Right. But aside from that, I actually don't want to hear about Biden's plan for Black America. I'm still looking for an apology for Biden's last plan for Black America, right? I need Black folks' Black plan for Black America to be facilitated by the Biden administration, right? And that I think is something we need to organize our collective power, us in the think tank game, others on the ground, others in community-based organizations and other forms of leadership need to collectively get behind, calling some more formal recommendations for levels of government. Call them demands, call them whatever we want to call them, but think them through all the way, have those family conversations and use that collective power to move some policy forward. I think the country is in a debt of gratitude to Black folks right now. Should and had been for the last 400 years, but in particular, after this last year, there's a little bit of grace that we've got, and we need to leverage that grace for tangible change in the material conditions of our communities. And that can come in the form of reparations proposals. It can come in the form of policy changes. It can come in the form of different resource allocations from municipal levels to federal levels. But those are the things I think we need to organize around. Those are things I want to put my effort in. And I never want to hear the phrase Biden's plan for Black America again until I know the Black folks who wrote that.
I agree. So I want to use your term, Isaac, to follow up with Jelani on this intergenerational leadership development. We need to have family conversations. Now, this is something that I've been talking about since the 80s. They used to put me out of the room, or at the time, Mark Ridley Thomas and I were the youngest around the table. They let us in the room, but we couldn't say nothing. We had to sit in the corner and shut up. The complication is that, and this is a free flow, so I'm just saying, we in some cities, particularly here in Los Angeles, we have Black leadership don't know when to sit down, and they don't know when to mentor those who have the potential to follow up on their work. When I used to write the weekly column for 25 years, I wrote a column once that said Black leadership eats their young, because that's what they do. They just straight up blow them up. And then the other real issue our community has, Jelani, that really bothers me, it bothers me to go to community meetings and see some people in the room that I know are speaking directly to those who oppress us. How many of you guys been following this Netflix movie, Judas and the Black Messiah?
Yeah.
The movie really, even though they call it a Fred Hampton movie, the movie is about the snitch. And how the FBI infiltrated the Panthers in Chicago using principally Black people. And we are the only generation of folk who believe the government won't do to us what they have done to every other generation. And here in Los Angeles, we know who the snitches are. We know who are the informants, and we let them sit right in the room. And that's why I stopped coming to some meetings. I'm not sitting in the room with a snitch, you know. And now they put jackets on them. They call them the community crisis team and all of that. First responders. That nigga's a snitch, okay? I don't know how to say it any other way. But what it does is undermines our planning. It undermines our discussion that we can have with one another. How do we address that, Jelani? Maybe your generation is seeing something that I'm missing. Maybe my generation is missing. Help me understand that.
And it's once again, that's a tough question. But what I will say is there's a lot of people that I would say in my generation that are doing a lot of good work and have been doing a lot of good work for a very, very long time. And at the end of the day, if we're gonna have an established Black community in Los Angeles, then there has to be some type of pipeline, or someone needs to pass a baton to the next generation to continue that work. And it's very difficult for someone like me who sees the displacement of Black folks, who's witnessing places like Inglewood have not one but two stadiums built, right, in the last Black enclave of Los Angeles, and rents are going up to $25,000 to $3,000 for 2 bedrooms in the Black community. So for me, I don't know if there's going to be a Black community left in Los Angeles 10 years from now, if we continue the way that we're continuing at the moment. But with that said, we need to, the mentors, the people that are already established, need to put us in a position to be successful and put us in a position to be able to stay here and continue the good work. I don't know exactly what that looks like, and I know that there are folks that are willing to do that work and bring, younger people in. But if we don't do it, I think that we're going to regret it.
I'm gonna say probably more than I'm supposed to, since we just talking. Eating our young, I think, is a real thing in LA politics, Black LA politics. And one of the most infuriating things to me is when we are in danger of losing multiple Black seats in election cycles, literally in danger of losing them. They never go Black again. At the same time, we're holding some of our most talented leaders back. We've got folks who are moving symbolic gesture after symbolic gesture, year after year. And you've got organizers moving whole institutions from the outside. And for some crazy reason, want to go into the internal leadership of our political decision-making, and we keep them boxed out. And so these are the things that we've got to figure out. And it's because of the way politics moves. We have a tendency not to put our most capable, our most progressive, our most inspiring leaders up, but instead put my friend up because I've known them longer, which is why the age of entry for Black LA politics is about 48 years old, right? Which is the average age. It's older than that, Dr. Samad. That's the average age of the California State Assembly is 48 years old. That's the average age of an assembly member in the state. And that's the way politics has been working, and Black politics takes that to another level. And we can't keep doing that, because by the time we figure out that we've got to put some younger folks in just for the sake of holding the seat for a while before we lose it, we're also going to miss opportunities to move transformative policy. Because if you want to get a different result, then you've got to do something different than the way you did it before. And if you keep repeating the same habits, you're going to keep getting the same results. And so I think Jelani is speaking to that. And I think last year and this year are windows and opportunities for us to imagine doing it better.
When I started that fight in the 80s, Isaac, you know what the average aggregate age for the Black elected official was?
No.
It was 79. We had Augustus Hawkins, we had Gil Lindsay, we had Tom Bradley, we had folk that had been sitting forever and wasn't thinking about moving. The whole thing used to be that a Black elected official, they died in their seat. Okay. The only way you was gonna get it. We got a couple now that's gonna die in their seat.
Yep.
They're not giving it up.
Term out of everything.
Right. That's right. So when we talk about we have to have a family conversation, then it leads us to the discussion, well, who's in the family? Who's a brother and who's a cousin? Who's adopted? But the one thing that I would like to see you guys do, and that'll lead us into our last question, we haven't had a Black convention since 1972. The last Black convention that we had in Los Angeles was in 1970, and it was put together by Sharice Bremont's father, Walter Bremont. They called it the Bremont Convention. It's almost like we scared to get the factions in the room, to have a conversation. We could talk, about each other in our various silos, but, when we all get in the room, we don't want to air dirty laundry, even though, my brother might have a knife in my back, but I can't say ouch, not in front of white people, not in front of Latinos. Sandy, you agree with me on that? You seen some of this history.
You see me shaking my head to that. And I think that too, and I might be switching just a little bit to, where we are, how can I frame this? In our mental states, you know what I mean? I think that we've experienced a lot of trauma. We've experienced a lot of, backbiting and things in our community. There's not, trust is really like, it's another level, right? Like we don't trust each other. And so I think that some of that, like building those relationships, I completely agree with Jelani and Isaac in that the pipeline thing is really, it's a plan of succession, right? Really. And so it does kind of bother me to see some of these seats that people are gonna die in, as you said, Dr. Samad. It's like, and then who's got next? Like, who have you mentored? Who have you put in the pipeline? Who have you, what I mean? Even, like do something, right? Because we are literally losing. I'm in the 59th Assembly District, and and Isaac, we came this close to losing this seat. Now, my plan, it might not have been everybody's plan, right? So we were looking at a young Black man that was wanting to do this work, was engaged in doing it, and then he passed away recently, right? And so, so that kind of breaks my heart because but the thing that really breaks my heart is I don't know if other people were thinking about that seat as a Black seat. They were willing just to give it up.
Right.
They were just willing to hand it over. And I'm still not willing to do that, right? And I want this district to be represented. So I think that we have a lot of, and I do try to work on bringing people together for the sake of building relationship, learning how to have hard conversations doesn't mean I hate you. It's more that I love you.
Right.
And, and I want us to work together. And I think we have to change that paradigm. And I know this gets all, this is my psych background, but it's real. We're injured. Our hearts are broken. We feel we have to, you got to mend that. We have to stop doing it to each other. We're going to have to work together. We may not always agree, but if we want to take the opportunity that we have in this moment, this very moment, where Black people are everybody, like they even capitalize Black with a B now. They don't even lower cap it anymore. We in that world. And so if we can't take advantage of that, when are we going to be able to take advantage of it? This is going to require us to work together. It's going to require us to make room at the table. And it's going to require some of us to say, that part of my time is over. I have to let them take the baton. They need to be in that position so we can help them to succeed.
Yeah.
Like we all dead, we're not even here to help them to succeed in those positions.
I'm there with you. You got my heart palpitating. I told Janet and them, don't have nobody on the panel that's gonna raise my stress.
Looked at the list, brother.
But that's real, And Isaac will tell you, I was thumping with the young brothers and sisters last year, because I'm one, you don't give up Black power. I don't care what the sister did. You know, you take her in the room and set her straight. You don't just give up a countywide seat. And I couldn't get the young brothers to see it. You know, but the bottom line is, this is the last piece, and then I'll move to you, Isaac. When Tom Bradley retired after 5 terms in office, he didn't endorse a successor. He dropped the baton on the floor. That's how we got Reardon. If Tom Bradley had just said, this is my person, that person would have won. He refused to endorse anybody. We couldn't believe it. We couldn't believe it. All right, Isaac, I know I said something that raised your stress. Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
You know, we've got to get in the habit of building that pipeline, and we've got to get in the habit of valuing those who stay rooted even when it's hard, right? And yeah, I don't want to give up a seat for nothing, but if I got a choice between 2 Black candidates and one of them's gonna push our agenda forward and the other one's just gonna hold that seat for a second, you know, I'm going over there. Even if the Labor Fed's against me, even if the Democratic Party's against me, even if the brothers is against me, I'm gonna go where my values say that that's where the best chance for us to move things forward are. And I think we've got to get comfortable doing that and having those hard conversations. It's about what moves things forward for our people, not about what have you done for me lately, or what do I need from you down the road, or I don't need nothing because I'm going to die in this seat, so I don't need to name a successor. We shouldn't want to be the last. And I've heard certain elected officials say from their current seats, I'm going to be the last Black person to ever hold this seat. I'm going to be the last one. Yeah, and that's a problem, damn it. That's a problem. You should not be saying that, because you should have 3, 4, 5 brothers and sisters behind you ready to take this that you're feeding into. And the one who you know is going to get the job done is the one that we all move behind. But when you say that, it's demoralizing to the community, and that's the first person who's giving it up, is the person saying that. And then at the same time, we didn't call all the troops to bail us out when we went into a primary we didn't expect to go into. So we got to do a better job of really planning together, planning for the now, planning for the future, and not being afraid to pass the baton or to tap somebody out because you done ran your fastest lap and this sister over here is running, you know, same boat numbers, and we got to get her on this track.
I agree. All right, let me get this last question in before we have to wrap. All right, so that's an excellent segue, Isaac, into our last question. How should Black folk collectively prepare for 2021? And what should be on our radar to accomplish, and how should we elevate our Black influence, voice, and activism? And I know you got a bullhorn, young brother. So why don't you lead off first? And because I know you're short on time, so we want to get your insight.
I appreciate y'all. I just think we've got to build on the momentum of 2020. We had some wins, you know, even while we were dying, even while we were being shot at from many different ways. We had some wins and we have some momentum, and we've got to move on that. We've got to get our folks in the office. We've got to stake our policy agendas. We've got to make sure that our people are moving forward in every sector of society, including on the small business front, where we just got decimated like few others. And there wasn't no PPP loans or other stimulus aids that reached our communities, right? And so we've got to be mindful of all the ways we've been hurt and command those resources. And if we don't have the right people in those seats to command those resources, we need to get the right people in those seats to command those resources. That's what we need to do with our collective activism, not just in 2021, but every year after that.
Okay, Brother Jelani, we'll let the Queen close us out, since this is the year of Black Girl Magic. We'll let her have the last word, you know, so go ahead.
Definitely. I think definitely to build off the momentum of 2020. And like I mentioned, we had a lot of wins. And if you look at something like Measure J, I wouldn't have thought in a million years something like that would be passed. And if it did pass, it will be when I was older. But one thing that the Measure J victory did for me was it helped me realize how important our radical imagination is, right? Because like I said before, we're in a moment that we've never been in. And we really need to envision what, I guess you could say, what a just society looks like for Black people, come up with a plan to get there collectively. and execute. I think we also need to look at the current political landscape and start planning for 2022 right now. Looking at what seats are open, looking at who's terming out, looking and identifying rising stars that can come in, and then also realize, we're in Los Angeles and people are watching us, and what we do here can spark a revolution throughout the rest of the country. So we elevate our Black influence and our voice by continuing to push, being courageous and not being afraid to demand what we need as a people, and continue to lead with love. And that love piece, I think, is connected to that family meeting that we need to have indoors, and we need to have that meeting now, right before our house burns down, if that makes sense. And like I said before, definitely excited to be here and to be in this moment. They're going to look at this moment just like they look at the civil rights movement. And I want to be able to say that I was on the right side of history. I worked with the right people. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here, really.
All right, my brother. We're happy to have both of you brothers. Sandy, close us out.
I will. Thank you so much, Dr. Samad. And I want to say that these two young men give me hope. And they give me motivation to continue to do what I do on the background, because it is my desire to push young people like this forward. Anybody that knows me know I'm passing the baton, right? I'm always passing the baton because Auntie want to be on a beach somewhere when we can go, right? And then you can call me, and and I can mentor you from from the Bahamas, right? So I just want to say that I'm so proud of you two, and you definitely have my support. And then I want to also say that, yes, I feel that I'm already in 2022. And so we are right now trying to develop our plans for, engaging our communities. I'm passionate about voter empowerment because, we need people to vote in the end, right? But I also want my people to understand what they're voting for. I want them to be behind issues that are important to them. And so we do a lot of education around, issues and how the people have the power. Like, you can change it. And I'm happy to. I used to use Prop 47 and Prop 57. Now I can add to that Measure J, Prop 17, as to let them know that we did that. Nobody expected that, right? We did that. Now 50,000 more people, right, Isaac, can vote. So we're trying to help those people get registered and vote. So I want to be on that side where where I can actually help the generations that's coming up behind us take that baton and they can be successful. I'm never giving up a black seat, never. I'm gonna go down fighting and dying, right? So,
Right.
I think that collaboration is important. Everything that's been said. So let's learn to work more collaboratively. Think about bringing people in, not keeping them out. That we're in our little private clubs, and nobody was on this meeting. I invite everybody to the meeting. And so we have to do more of that to get. There's some powerful people in our community, and I want to see them in these meetings. And so I'm dedicated to doing that. And so I just loved being here, and thank you so much, you all, for this conversation. I loved it.
You're welcome. And as a final statement, I concur with you, Sandy. It's time for our generation to block for these young brothers and sisters. They got the speed. They're running back. Give them time to throw the ball. We can't play receiver anymore. We got to move to tight end. We might be able to catch a pass every now and then, but they running up and down the field. Okay. And it's time for us, to block for them. And we cannot let the baton hit the ground. So I'd like to thank all of you for participating in this first part one of the 2021 Black Narrative Series. I'd like to again thank Janet Kelly. I'd like to thank Kayla Bennett, like to thank Arnetta Mack for assembling a beautiful team and for continuing this dialogue on an annual basis. And you guys tune in next week for Sanctuary of Hope Black Narrative Series Part 2. We look forward to talking to you all, and have a great day. Peace and blessings.